Hello, I'm Joanna Toch. This is a Family Law Cafe podcast. This is where I get to talk to people who are in the area of family law. I'm a family lawyer, and at Family Law Cafe we help you with everything you need to get through your legal case successfully. But that does mean thinking about other aspects of your family situation. So I'm delighted to welcome Anna Florio. She is a relationship coach, and you're going to want to hear what she's got to say. So Anna, tell us about you. What do you do and why do you do it?
I started as relationship coach when I was very, very young.
Yeah.
Because I had the girlfriends coming over and saying, I'm having this trouble with the love of my life kind of things.
Yeah.
And I'm the typical Libra, and I'm very much about let's find a happy solution for everybody and stuff like that. And it must have been good because they kept on calling me for lunch and stuff.
Yeah.
And it started from there. And generally, even in my family, I was the peacemaker normally. Mm-hmm. But I've always been super interested in human nature. Why do we do what we do?
Yeah.
And what are the kind of things that bring us to behave in certain ways, even especially when they are the ones that we don't want to behave as. I started the degree in psychology, and then I discovered photography and I fell in love. And I ended up doing documentary. So it was still about human nature and why do we do what we do. Mm-hmm. And especially when people allow you to enter their home or, a place that is special to them. And they start telling you the real reason, like say, why did they start a business? Or what's been the big motivation behind what they were doing and things. And for me, it's always been like, how can I learn from you about what you're doing so that I can use it for myself? And so fast forward, I started doing, because I used to have lots of, not all at the same time, but like relationships with narcissists, because we have a family narcissist history, basically. Mm-hmm. And at one point I was like, that's it. I don't want to be into this anymore, but why do I keep on reacting in a certain way? So I started studying the whole thing and realizing what are the familiar patterns that I was still copying and trying to recreate in the relationships, which of course were not working. And then about 10 years ago, a friend of mine, male friend of mine, was going through a horrendous divorce because basically he was divorcing just because there was no more love between him and the wife. Mm-hmm. But the wife would have probably preferred if he was leaving her for someone else, because in this way she was the one that was not being wanted and loved. And so it was like one of those cutthroat type of divorces. She's done every possible thing that she could. And so I said, I already had created the coaching program for the women who have come out of narcissistic relationship. And I said, well, let's just try, see if it works. And it did. And so after that, I realized that, for example, the amount of men that commit suicide in the UK is way higher than the women. And so the boys needed help.
Yeah.
And I started publicizing more what I was doing. And so many men would love to come, because especially when you have a safe place. So say, for example, you're going through a divorce and you're talking to your friends. You don't know out of that what's going to come up. If they change their idea about you, for example, you might lose some supporters. But also if they're going to tell the things that you told them in confidence to other people, that can create all sorts of things.
Yeah.
While to sit down with someone who's got no vested interest, only wants the best for you, whatever it is. But I'm also, one of my clients used to say, I'm brutally honest, because I don't tell you things just to make you happy. I want to solve the problem. I want you to move to the next level. And so with men especially, I love working with men because they're so practical and they put things into perspective straight away. And so for me, it's an absolute joy because I love male energy. I love the way they think out of the box, all those kind of things. And so this is how little by little I ended up getting more and more into relationship coaching, because I was on the life coaching as a general thing, and then I specialized in this.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. There's so many things I'm going to pull out,
yes.
And we're going to go into all the different areas of relationships and what you know and what you can tell us.
Yes.
You very early in life realized, the role that you were taking was, listening to people about their relationships. It was just part of your life. And then you were doing other things, making documentaries, obviously documentaries, as I understand, about people. So finding out more about them. So I'm guessing you love what you do now.
I adore what I do.
You adore what you do.
It's a joy.
And Anna Florio, and you have a lovely warm accent. So where are
I'm
you
Italian.
native? You're Italian. And
But
where in Italy do you
I'm
come
from Rome.
From Rome.
But
yeah.
I've been living in the UK for so long that now I'm this kind of exotic mixture of everything.
You've certainly got that exotic flair. And as I understand it, you come also into relationship coaching from healing, and you've got
Yes.
quite a spiritual side, and that's
Yes.
part of your background, that spiritualism was a feature.
Yes.
So how does that sort of tie in with what you're doing? I mean, do you get a lot of people that are suffering from trauma, and there's a
Very
healing
much.
aspect?
Personally, I haven't found a single person that doesn't have some kind of form of trauma.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes from childhood. Now, it's not that we always had horrible parents, because it's not even that. It's, say, like a 5-year-old, how is that little child going to interpret a certain situation? So say, for example, when I was 5, my dad died. But for me, I saw it as abandonment, even if obviously he didn't die on purpose to abandon me.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So out of
but
that...
from that perspective, when you're 5 years old, it's a loss, isn't it? It is an abandonment.
And so,
Yeah.
but that kind of created an imprint in my behaviors, in my way of seeing life and everything. So what I've realized, and especially in the narcissistic relationship, I was waiting to be left, which is not the normal way to do things.
Yeah.
You know, but because of that original imprint, there's been something that I created in my mind that was something like, if my father couldn't be bothered to be alive to love me, who could ever love me? But of course, this is a concept from a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But until it's developed and understood and seen, because it's all in the subconscious,
Yeah.
my behaviors were based on this belief. But I didn't realize I had it until further down in
Yeah.
my life.
So have you yourself sort of unpacked this and gone to counselling yourself?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of this. And the majority of what I do is because first I went to do it for myself.
Yeah.
And then I thought this could be, say, for example, the energy work that I do.
Yeah.
I started because I wanted to heal myself.
Yeah.
The Bach flower remedies that I use for my clients, I started to begin with for me, because I was doing some deep work on the family issues and things like that. So there's been a development, like what I used to do 10 years ago is being kind of improved over time, because I found different methods that could work. And obviously, sometimes even for ourselves, a certain thing that works now will not work later on. And so for me, even to have a set of tools rather than just one or two things, because everything that I do is completely tailor-made for the needs of the person, that gives me a bigger chance to really cater all the way down to what the person needs.
So there's people that are watching this, listening to this, and they may be going through a separation, think, how did I get here?
Yes.
So in terms of entering relationships, you know, life would be simple, wouldn't it, without relationships? You know, there's a theory, isn't there, that the only problems in life are caused by relationships. But of course, without relationships, really, there is really nothing much else. I mean, relationships
Yes.
are the most important thing. So sometimes, you know, people will come and they will say to us, you know, I don't know how I got into this relationship, you know, what was it about me? And they take it upon themselves. You know, they're in a bad relationship. Things have happened which they can't accept. That's why they're separating. And they will say, you know, I don't understand this. You know, I'm a really sorted person, you know, successful, and yet this happened to me. You know, what should people be looking for when they enter relationships? Because obviously people are going to have relationships. If they're ending one, they're going to have another one.
Yes.
And they don't want to keep repeating the pattern. I mean, is there some sort of safety guide we should
The
have?
biggest thing is self-awareness.
Yeah.
If, for example, I know that I've got an abandonment issue, generally what happens is I go to look for the opposite of me. So I will look for someone that will keep on running away.
Right.
But what I will be doing by doing that is to get even worse into my, you see, I'm going to be abandoned. And he's always with the foot out of the door. You never know when it's going to happen that he like finally leaves and that kind of things. So the first thing is, if I know I got abandonment issues, I need to work on it. Because the next relationship will not fix it for me.
But I mean, guess you'll be looking for relationships that justify your worldview. Your worldview is everyone's going to leave
Always.
you. You're going to be
Yes.
abandoned. So I suppose there's a security in knowing what will happen. I mean,
Yes.
It sounds bizarre, doesn't it, when you say it out loud?
But it's so true.
Yeah.
Like my last narcissist of my whole collection.
Yeah.
What I realized
We'll
is
get
like-
into that in a minute.
Yeah. But what I realized, I am the most peaceful person you can find. But I was picking fights. And at the time I was working with a counselor, and I was like, it makes no sense because I really want to stay in this relationship. However, I keep on picking reasons to have rows, which made no sense whatsoever. And she goes, of course it makes sense. Because if you already expect to be abandoned, you would rather do it in your own terms. So by pushing him, he will leave you when you are ready to take it.
Yeah. You'll be in charge of being abandoned.
While if you leave it to him,
Yeah.
you are always like hanging from a thread, never knowing when is the time that he's going to leave you.
Yeah, because your
So-
belief is you'll be abandoned. It's
At
so
some
ingrained.
point, it will happen no
Yeah,
matter
yeah.
what.
Yeah.
Right? And so because of this, you do something that is the opposite of what you want,
Yeah.
but is really your subconscious saying, let's just get it over and done
Yeah.
with.
Let's push this person.
You see?
And what about people that get into violent relationships? What can you tell us about that?
Very often that has been some kind of blueprint that they had in their life while they were growing up. It might not be their parents, it might be someone important to them that was going through that. So in a twisted way, it's not that it's right, but it's familiar. So
Yeah.
somehow we tend to, in inverted commas, accept it.
It's acceptable. It's normalized.
But that's the thing, the person is split in two.
Yeah.
One part is absolutely not, this is horrendous. And this is the part where they then want to get out of the relationship because no, it's toxic, it's unhealthy and all that. But the other part somehow is used to it. So the familiarity makes it not acceptable, but kind of, oh, well, you know. And then very often there is something about being unlovable or some issues of that type. So every time then, you know, after the violence, generally there is the, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again and all that.
Yeah.
Which to the person that doesn't feel lovable means, you see, after all that, he loves me or she loves me.
So that could be another thing, that not necessarily they've grown up with violence, but they don't feel lovable.
At all.
Yeah.
And so even a little crumb of love is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And he's telling me he loves me.
Yeah.
I know yesterday he gave me a black eye,
Yeah.
but today he's telling me he's loving me. And because my real craving is to be loved,
Yeah.
and my levels of acceptance, you know, what are my standards?
Yeah.
Chances are quite low.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're starving, you're not gonna go, sorry, if it's not 5 stars hotel, I'm not eating. You go like, you find bread on the floor, you eat that because you're that starving.
But what causes someone to feel so unlovable that
It's
they
a-
would tolerate that?
It's a history of not feeling loved, and it's a profound belief that comes from childhood very, very often. That, you know, because even things like some parents, if you don't do this, I won't love you anymore, right? And they just use this as a natural way to raise their kids.
Yeah.
But they don't realize the impact because nobody stopped them and said, do you understand that this child is always walking on a line, very thin line, because if he or she doesn't do something that's acceptable by you, the first thing you will say is, I don't love you anymore. So you don't love them for them, you love them for what they do.
Yeah.
And
so
then-
they're intrinsically not lovable.
And they don't have a value, an intrinsic value. It's just my actions
Yeah.
that mean something. So, for example, many, not all of them, but many high-performing people have had some kind of background of this type. So their way was to excel, so I will be loved and accepted.
And that's, I get infuriated, I have to say, doing children matters where courts don't recognise emotional harm,
Abuse, yes.
emotional abuse, because it's one of the factors, and
It's
we can all
huge.
see if a child's been hit, and they can say, "Oh yes," but really to be emotionally harmed could be as significant, if not more significant, and it's in the it's in the list of factors.
But the problem is, it's not visible.
It's
as
not
you
visible,
said.
but it's really, there should be rigorous training for anyone who's dealing with children matters to recognise the different forms of abuse, because it's easy to see once you know, and it's disappointing that courts sometimes don't see it. So and then that's leading on to, you know, people when they grow up, as you say, not feeling lovable. What about people who don't feel they're good enough? Is that the same thing, or is it different?
Is on the same spectrum, let's say like that.
Yeah.
Also, imposter syndrome.
Tell me about that.
Imposter syndrome is fascinating.
Yeah.
There are people that from the outside, they look like the most competent, knowledgeable person that you can ever find on earth, right? If you listen to their inner voice, oh my God, I know nothing. You know, some people are physically sick before they give a presentation or anything like that, to the point that, you know, they really have to hold on to themselves and just kind of push themselves, because their inner critic, which is the voice of whoever has told you were not good enough, that is ingrained in your head now. And this is why it's so important in relationships. How do you speak to your partner? Because you become the critical voice in their head.
Oh, you're moving on. So I just told you, there's so much. We're going into a relationship, and you're explaining how going into a relationship is about you. So self-awareness.
Yes.
Anything else that we've talked about, people that get into violent relationships, talked about people who get into, you know, just bad relationships, so someone's very critical.
Also, something like, if you keep on finding people that are at a lower level than you, it could be as far as culture, it could be as far as behavior, it could be as simple as good manners.
Or what about that they're not successful? You know, I see a lot of divorces, particularly with women who are very, very successful, and they're going through a very, very difficult divorce and child arrangement situation. And you're like, that there's just a mismatch here. And the man in that case, and obviously it happens either way, but it's been just so incredibly difficult. And from the outside, it's looking like, oh, he's really caring and nice and wants to look after the children. In fact, it's just causing loads and loads of problems.
Yes.
As a woman's trying to get on with her life, and you're thinking, I don't understand. Why did you pair up with this person, have children with them?
Because I don't feel I'm good enough.
They don't feel they're good enough. But they look so successful.
Oh, they look. But like actors.
Yeah.
They can look super confident and everything, and then you go to talk to them in their private life and they're super shy, for example. They put up this persona, but it doesn't mean that that's what they feel inside. Some of them do.
Yeah.
So
this is causing, it causes havoc on divorce, you know, and because you can see that then that person who perhaps has thought, I've done really well here, they want to cling on to this, but the other person is moving on. And obviously, you know, the other way around, it's not a gender thing. But I do see a lot of women who, and they're kind of puzzled as to why they can't just move on, but they're in a lot of difficulty. They just can't get out of the marriage.
But also very often at the beginning you see the red flags and you choose to ignore them.
Yes, yeah. Why do people do that? Is it so ingrained?
They feel that what they can get out of it is bigger than the red flags. So say, for example, I'm a very introvert type of person, and I find this guy that is super extrovert, and we're going to party and he's the light of the party and all that. He might have shown me as well that he's got a wandering eye, for example.
Yeah.
But because I'm so shy and so introvert, he's opening up doors for me socially so that I can still be part of the group without having to be the highlight, because I don't feel comfortable in that role.
Yeah.
So, oh no, he's just being nice to other girls. He's such a friendly guy and all that kind of things. The red flags were there. And so many times when we're doing the coaching, you hear that I knew it. Because we don't listen to the inner voice, because our need of, say, for example, of being part of the group instead of being at home by myself and all that is bigger than the threat, than the red flags are showing me. And so I compromise because, you cannot have it all from one person. True. But then where do you draw the line? What are the kind of the no deal, don't go there? And what are the, oh, well, never mind. Because the thing is, say, for example, you see the other person being really unfair towards someone else. Generally, we get this illusion that because you love me, you will never do that to me. And then once you divorce from that person, he will show you that and more, or she, because it's for both sides, right? I saw it from the beginning. I just thought I was privileged because probably I don't think I can be fully loved. So I feel, in this kind of high position because he or she decided to love me. And I choose to overlook the fact that he's been treating someone else in a way that I would not agree with. But somehow I feel safe because I am in the special position. Then once we get into conflict, that is where his real nature, which he has already showed me, will come up to the surface. And very often, especially when I'm working with men, they are shocked that that same woman could do this, could do that, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, if I say, okay, go back at the beginning. Did she ever treat the waiter badly when you were going out for dinner? Oh, now that you make me think, she was being very dismissive of the waiter. Tiny things. We're not talking like she took the table and just threw it up in the air.
Yeah,
but the signs were there. And because we want these things so much, then we're like, okay, shh, don't tell me about this one.
Yeah.
When your girlfriends talk to you and go, that guy, why? The typical female thing, this is, he's got potential.
Oh, yeah.
Potential is one of the biggest weapons that exist in relationships.
Right. So there's so much here.
Yes.
So you've got in. You've just ignored those red flags.
All of them.
You're in the relationship. You're either living together. You've got children. You're married.
Yes.
Then, in that relationship, I think one of the things that is kind of big to me is that how much do people change in a relationship? So how much do they then revert back to type? They might have overlooked it.
It was always there.
It was always there. And then are they then going back to type and like no longer tolerating? What's happening? Why do things change?
First of all, I'm on my best behavior at the beginning when we're dating.
The honeymoon
because
period.
I'm selling myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the same way that if I go to work or if I go to a business meeting, I'm not going to go with my fluffy slippers.
Yeah.
But I got my fluffy slippers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, whatever I'm not showing, I'm showing red flags at some point because nobody can keep up a facade, a mask for so long. Right?
Yeah.
You decide, we're in a relationship, you decide you're not going to look at my red flags. And my fluffy slippers, you know what, they're quite cute actually. Yeah? The same fluffy slippers will start to get on your nerves when you hear me at 6 o'clock in the morning go like on the floor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the fluffy slippers were there.
They always were there.
It's just that you gave it a different meaning. Yeah? The man is really aggressive. He's so assertive. Right?
Yeah.
Or he keeps on changing job. He's so creative. He hasn't found his way yet.
Always seeing the best.
Right? Seeing the best.
Yeah.
But
is that a hope thing? Because most people are hopeful that this is going to be this amazing marriage and everything will be...
In Italian it makes a rhyme.
Yeah.
But we say, chi vive sperando muore disperato. Who keeps on living hoping dies desperate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, living in hope.
Is this a real potential? Because a potential that is not actualized might as well not be there.
Yeah.
Right? I might have petrol under my garden, but if I don't dig it, I'll still be at the same financial level that I am now.
Yeah.
Right? And with this idea of he's got so much potential, we buy time. Because it's not yet. But you've been with him 20 years. I know, but I can see the potential. Why? Because it's more difficult to say what I see is mediocre. But if I say that you are mediocre, it means I have to have a very hard look at myself and say, where am I mirroring that behavior? Where am I not stepping up my game?
So you mentioned earlier that women tend to see that there's potential in men.
Yes.
Does it ever work the other way, men seeing potential in women?
So there's more than one type.
Yeah.
One of the types is the man that think he can change you and mold you into whatever he decides.
Like the trophy.
Like the trophy.
Yeah.
So he might be starting to change your clothes, your hairstyle, put you on a diet, or give you a breast implant, or give you a facelift, depending from your age, or whatever it is. Right? Wow. Because his idea of who you should be has got a certain kind of blueprint, let's call it. So he's trying to morph you as much as he can into that blueprint. This is one type.
Yeah.
Then there's the other guy that hope you don't change, because if you do, you will wake up to who he really is.
Yeah, so like maybe someone is a little bit overweight, they lose a lot of weight, and then that's threatening. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we are moving out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know? One of my clients, for example, she put on a lot of weight because she had hormonal problems. She was eating so much. And then all of a sudden they found a way to balance her hormones. And she has lost something like 3 stones. You know, so that's about 20 kilos or so. So it's a lot. The partner cannot cope with this.
Yeah. To change the dynamic.
Because he was feeling comfortable when she put on weight, because he feels like I don't have competition, basically. So now he's almost trying to force feed her to get her back. She's like, I will not do that for love or money, right? So because you need to see what's the issue with your partner that will want me not to get better, but to stay or even get worse.
Yeah.
Okay? So, for example, very often with the potential thing for the girls, girls can really see your potential. It's not that they're just hallucinating.
Right.
And if you are, let's call it a developed enough man, you will see that what she sees in you, once you actualize it, will make your life better first.
Yeah.
And then her life better too. So, you know, when men say, oh, she's nagging at me. Well, first of all, is she nagging, or is she actually telling you certain things that are important?
Yeah.
Because if you were in a business meeting and the other person was saying, look, for this business to work, we need this, this, and that, you wouldn't finish the business meeting and go, my colleague was nagging me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and with that, then there's a whole other aspect of respect and honor the other person, even if they're telling you something you don't like to hear. You know? But so there's that man that is kind of, I'd rather dismiss you than to take action.
Yeah.
Because in order for me to go up to my potential, there are
sacrifices,
sacrifices,
and difficult, and
it's uncomfortable. I have to look inside and see who I am, what I think about myself, what are my issues, my blockages, my mental setups, and all that kind of things. So it's a lot of work.
And presumably in same-sex relationships, that's another complete dynamic, isn't it?
Well, I think in a way I understand you better because I know exactly who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
But there is still an element, I wouldn't call it of feminine and masculine because it's not even that, but it's literally an energetic, you know, it's like if you got 2 magnets and they are on the same side, they're going to push themselves out instead of attract.
Yeah.
So there must be something within the dynamics that create the attraction.
Yeah.
You see? And so very often, because say, for example, we put feminine traditionally as nurturing and all that. There are some amazing men that are super, super nurturing.
Yeah.
So if we want to call that the female side of that, I wouldn't know. But the 2 elements need to get together. Because at some point, otherwise, they will clash. So, for example, one of the things that people say is, marry a giver if you are a giver.
Right.
Because what you do is you keep on, you know,
giving and
giving for each other's happiness.
Yeah.
If you get a taker, he or she will keep on taking over and over and over, and you're a giver, but then you become depleted because you're not getting anything back.
Yeah.
So it's not a flow.
What about two takers? Would that work?
They don't last at all.
Very short.
I doubt they would even go to
Even
live
get together.
together or anything, because it's like there's nothing in this for me, so might as well go.
How much do people move away from their baseline? You know, because we talked about things that, you know, you obviously you're, in my view, a mixture of things that have happened to you, the way you are genetically. I mean, obviously humans are just the most incredible creatures, you know, it's endlessly fascinating. And I mean, that's why family law is so interesting and complex, because, you know, there's a set of laws, so they're like, you know, some tracks
structure,
and that people have to fit into. But obviously relationships and people are endlessly different.
Yes.
So how much in a relationship are people able to change from how they are to make that relationship work?
So first of all, you cannot change me. I need to change me.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Men and women, same story.
Yeah.
It's a bit like if I put you on a diet, when you see a McDonald's, you're going to sneak one in because I'm forcing you to be on a diet.
It's not my choice.
Yeah? It's not your choice. It's just under duress.
I've got to want to do it.
Want to do it and see the benefit.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, say, for example, the diets that work is I don't tell you you are on a diet. I say, I want to reach that weight. I want to reach that size. I want to reach whatever. That's the level of fitness. That's a positive to look forward to.
Yeah.
But if you start, I don't eat this and don't eat that and don't touch that and don't sleep in the morning and go in the gym, I'm going to like, this is too much torture.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Right? So my character is fluid. You know, I might have certain basic traits, but really, say, for example, fear. We are not born with all the fear that we acquire further down the line. We are just born with fear of loud noises and falling.
Yeah.
That's the only two things. So any other fear you notice you have along the way, you have picked it up somewhere, right? So go back to basic when you are in the relationship. Also, do we have the same moral grounds? I was talking just this morning to one of my clients, and he was saying one of the reasons why I didn't leave my wife, even if, you know, the relationship was challenging, etc., was because she would have had the stigma of being a divorced woman, and I would have ruined her life in that way. So he held on. There's been all sorts of things within the relationship. But now they are divorcing because there's just so much that I can sacrifice myself for. When it's almost like, ask me, don't use your arm at all. But my arm is functioning. But for you to be with me, you cannot have the other arm. So I have to do everything with one. How long can I keep it up for? You see? And that is the real issue. I come, you know, certain habits I can change it. But other things is my need. And if that is a genuine need, like say, for example, I adore my freedom. For me, it's important. If you start giving too many rules, don't do this, don't do that, I'm off. But not because I will go wild if you didn't give me the rules, because I'm actually quite, you know, aware of things, and I don't just go stupid and crazy. But I don't like the imposition of the rules when I feel that I can do very well by myself. So, for example, I had a friend and she got married to this guy who was very controlling. And she was like, oh, you should marry one of his friends. And I was like, my mama gave me a really good brain when I was born, and I don't need anybody to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
You know, when we're talking about the woman should be submissive and the man should lead. If you are an intelligent man, if you are a wise man, I will follow you to the end of earth. But you cannot ask me to submit when you don't know where you're going.
But other people may be fine with that and say, that makes it easy for me. I want someone to set the rules. I think this is a very interesting area because, of course, we have a law now about coercive and controlling behaviour, and it's intriguing. It's, you know, it's a criminal offence, and it's going to be interesting to see what the conviction rates are like, because I think we also know that some people, the dynamic in their relationship may be that someone's actually okay with someone always organising the finances, and then another person won't be. Absolutely. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting how that has now become a criminal offence. It's interesting in financial remedy that conduct used to be really, really confined. But if you have something which is a criminal offence, but then in the civil law, that doesn't make sense to me. So, conduct could be expanded to bring in elements of behaviour during the marriage. So this could be, I can see it causing a lot of chaos and difficulty.
Absolutely. In
family law, because we've been very careful as lawyers, say no, we don't want to no emotions,
too much.
No emotions here. So one thing that I think is interesting is, of course, there are many, many arranged marriages, and many of them are, for example, I remember talking to a very happy couple years ago, and in that marriage, the husband had stepped in because his brother went to buy the shoes for the wedding on the wedding day and just disappeared. I was later found. I went to another country, went to buy the shoes, like, no, this is not for me. But as his brother, he had to step in and marry on the day, step in on the day.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, they were extremely happy, had 2 lovely children, and just became a bit of a sort of folklore in the community. And the brother did turn up later, and everyone sort of accepted
now that it's all done.
But they were most happy couple. So there, they'd had no preparation. We've talked about red flags and entering into relationships. So it does strike me that sometimes people, like, you're in a situation, and obviously people will talk about you have to work at a relationship, you've got to work at a marriage. Always. How can people work at a relationship? Because a lot of people will say now it's too easy to get divorced, people are not working on it. That's not what I see. I see that people come to me and say, I say to them, when did you separate? And I've had people say, well, 20 years ago I was unhappy, but I stayed in the marriage. Oh, okay. So I think people do try. So how can they work hard at relationships?
So first of all, what are you working for? Because say, like my client I was telling you this morning, he really tried to fit into a position that was so far from what he wanted.
Yeah.
And from his core essence, let's call it, right? So he tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. And obviously there's this feeling of failure because I am never the way they want me to be. But the way I was explaining to him, he's got brown eyes. And I said to him, you can put as many color contact lenses as you want. And I can be as fixated for you to have blue eyes as I want to. But your core is you've got brown eyes.
Yeah.
And either I accept that and we work with the fact you've got brown eyes. Otherwise, you will always have to put contact lenses or other things to give me the impression and you're making an effort, but you're never being yourself. And that is one of the biggest problems. Like, I am lazy. It's as simple as that. So you will not see me running unless there's a danger running after me, okay? I could not be with someone who expects me to go and run at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's super freezing and it's raining on my head, to go and run with him for the pleasure of running. It's not going to happen. I might do it once to please him, to make him happy, but this is not a habit that I will be prepared to take because I feel cold and I want to sleep, right? So to begin with, let's be realistic about our expectations. If I see that you, like finances, for example, one of the biggest issues ever. If I see that you keep on buying what I consider stupid things while we are dating, there's a precedent there. And because people don't want to have the difficult discussions.
They don't want to discuss things, and it's so obvious that they don't, and I get that. No one wants to, and it's weird, isn't it?
But then you end up in divorce.
And that's crazy. And people don't want to be divorced generally and see it as a failure.
I made an investment, and I was hoping to have the rest of my life with you. So I came with good intentions. Some people are a bit twisted, but Generally, I got good intentions. But the thing is, if already at the beginning I'm avoiding things like, how do you see discipline in children? What's your idea of how you discipline a child? Because my idea can be completely different from yours, and that is where we will clash, because you are so convinced that your idea is the best, and so am I. And where do we draw the line? Another thing that people never look at, how is the other person when they are in a fight? Do they fight fair? Or do they kind of, in love and war, everything is allowed and they just destroy people, for example? Because that aspect will be there the moment that me and you have got some issues.
I mean, I'm guessing, and I'm not a relationships expert, but obviously I see a lot of relationships, the people that can discuss through their differences and come to an accommodation, which might be that they have a bit of separation in the marriage or the relationship.
As well.
And they just have the trust. I mean, trust seems to be massive.
Huge.
Obviously, what do you say about the people, we're going to go through a few archetypes now, the person who is unfaithful, because that can be such a deal breaker for people, understandably so.
Very much, yes.
Whereas other people can accommodate it and go through it. And I think that must be incredibly hard for both sides. They've lost that trust, probably lost that intimacy, but some people do get through that. But why would someone be unfaithful? Is there one reason, or are there a number of reasons?
So I'm generalizing here.
Yeah.
For men, very often, is more like a sexual thing, like, I want it now, they look delicious.
Yeah.
Let me have it.
Yeah.
What it comes to be more complicated is when a woman goes and cheats.
Oh, interesting.
What happens is, very often, I'm not saying every single time, but very, very often, she is getting the attention and the conversation that her partner doesn't give her at home. And she has probably been pointing out at the fact that, hey, we don't talk anymore. The usual.
Yeah.
We don't talk anymore. We don't share anymore. We don't have the pillow talk. That is one of the most precious moments within a relationship.
Yeah.
Right? And the guy either dismisses her or ignores it or talks 2 minutes and then carries on like on his phone. Phones are the death of relationships. They really are. Because also it's a way to hide behind my phone, so I don't have to have the difficult
conversation. Actually be with someone else. You're in a different relationship, aren't you? You're on your phone, perhaps talking to someone, actually having a relationship with someone who's not even there.
Yeah, or
there's
even
a bit of a
just
slap in the face.
Scrolling.
But scrolling, which seems worse.
But you see,
meaningless.
People have forgotten.
We all do it. But,
we do.
Yeah.
But why? Because very often our brain needs to download things because we've been at work all day, for example, or we've been busy all day with the children, whatever it is. We need that kind of empty zone. But sometimes, especially if it's compounded stress, that empty zone goes from half an hour to 3 hours.
And then it's unhealthy, isn't it? And then it affects the relationship.
But because I haven't found other things, why people are so much into yoga and all that. Because that is the time when you just switch off the brain, get back into your physicality, and then you can be present. Because we're always either forwards or backwards, we're never present.
Jumping.
Yes.
The unfaithful partner.
Yes.
The narcissist.
Yes.
And then we've got a whole podcasts on it and webinars, and but you're seeing it from a healing perspective, aren't you? Because you have that sort of spiritual knowledge, and you have your own personal experience, which I understand you feel that comes from, your childhood, and that was something you recognised and have sort of presumably sort of moved on from.
Yes.
What can you tell us? I mean, because there is so much to say, and they're a big feature in family law cases.
Yes. So narcissist. Nobody is born a narcissist. A narcissist is a child who has been so severely wounded that he had to let go of his own personality and create this other personality that could be accepted by the people that raised him or her, right? Because we got it both sides. Now, female narcissists are more difficult to spot for the simple reason that they look very nurturing and caring and all that. And the man or the woman, they just think, oh my God, I just find paradise.
Yeah.
Right?
They must be so attractive, the female narcissists, to men, because
they're like the best
imagine creating
female
the perfect
archetype.
women, and women to a certain extent I think women are amazing and they can just do all of that stuff, but most of us don't quite bother. But I can imagine a female narcissist being so incredible. That's just
the way I explain it is like the
speculation.
geisha.
Yeah.
She comes and does the tea ceremony
perfect.
for you, and she's listening
We
to
all
you,
do a
and she's
little
playing
bit.
music for you, and she's doing whatever,
Yeah.
and she gives you full attention,
And
which
men-
is what we crave.
And men, I just think of, in terms of my son, like if I give him good meal, he's quite straightforward. But I think men are often, to me, I think are quite straightforward. And I think that's
They
a
are.
compliment to them.
They're amazing.
Women seem to be more kind of complex creatures.
Yeah, we're
That's just a
multifaceted,
massive
more than men.
generalization,
Yes.
of course.
Big time.
Yeah.
But you see, for men, for example, the way I say, like, if you are in a conflict and it goes in what I call the cave,
Yeah.
you do not knock on that door
Leave that man there.
unless you are feeding him.
Yeah.
So you just leave the
Leave the
tray
plate
out of the
and move
door
back.
and leave him in the cave, because he needs his time in the same way where you have a bubble bath or you do some other activities where he needs to center himself, sort out the problem, and then he will come out of the cave. You knocking on that door, going, have you finished yet?
You've got to leave him.
Leave him alone.
So I interrupted you because we were talking about narcissism.
I'm Italian. We interrupt all the time.
Me too. That's from my background.
Yes.
They cause chaos, and as you say, then they can't help themselves because they are wounding people.
They come
wounding
from
others.
the point of, it's very similar to the abandonment issue, right? Let's say male narcissists, for example. They believe that the female will hurt them, no matter what, because generally male narcissists have got mothers who have created problems for them. Okay? So if I believe that you will hurt me no matter what, just as much as for the abandonment we were talking about, I'm waiting for you to show me that I was right. Okay?
Yeah.
So in the narcissistic world, there are 2 cycles of abuse. The first one is, I'll push your buttons, I'll do everything so that I can prove either your boundaries and the fact that you are a good female, or you completely confirm my idea that you will hurt me.
Yeah.
And the way I will see it is, at one point I will push you to the point that you will explode, or you will say, will you stop it? And I will immediately go into, I knew it.
And you've done it, yeah.
I knew
That's
it.
so often in cases I'm dealing with. That's what
The fact that I've been pushing your buttons in every possible way doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the way you come and confront me about it, I'll say, why are you shouting about me? What about you?
Yeah.
Okay?
Got you. Where's the second cycle of...
Second cycle.
Yeah.
The moment you have confirmed to me that you are an unreliable, hurtful female, I need to get rid of you. Right? And generally, within the narcissistic world, the person that is with the narcissist, female or male, it doesn't matter, is called the source.
Yeah.
It's not even a person, because it's source of entertainment, of attention, of love, of all these kind of things. But as a source, just as much as a petrol station, it doesn't matter where I get my petrol as long as my car goes. So after the first cycle, you've proven to me that you are an unreliable, hurtful person. Why would I want to be with you? Unless you are at such a high status that you are my trophy wife. Then I will find a way to manipulate you, but still keep you, because that reflects on me.
Yeah.
Because the main thing about narcissists is my image, how people will perceive me.
Yeah.
And so the worst thing you can do is to try and divorce a narcissist, because as far as they're concerned, it's a direct attack, and you're trying to make me feel shamed in front of people.
Exactly.
And this is why they go for the jugular.
Yeah, they would go for the jugular. And
because you have put me in a shameful position. You have shown to the world that I am abandonable, if there's a word like that. Yeah? And now you've ruined my life. So I will make you pay.
Yeah.
And if I can make you pay through the kids, even better. Because I know that is your real Achilles heel.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I will give you merry hell as much as I can. Because as far as I am concerned as a narcissist, you can't even imagine the amount of pain you have just given me. Okay? So, second cycle of abuse. I need to find a new source because this source is very unreliable and is very hurtful. So I cannot sleep comfortably now. So I start looking for the next person. But in the meantime, I make your life so difficult that you will have to leave me. So I will keep on abusing you. I will keep on telling you nasty things. I will keep on putting what I call the poisonous seeds to start making you doubt about yourself and how good you are. And because narcissists have got this thing that they will destroy the things that you are sure about. So say my last narcissist, of course, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, and I needed to be in London because that's where my clients were. Why don't you get a 9-to-5 job? So you don't have to keep on looking for clients and doing all this. And on top of that, why don't we move to the countryside? Mm-hmm. We would be so happy there. Mm-hmm. Right? So you make me doubt where I live. You making me doubt, well, you are making me, I am making myself doubt, thanks to your ideas. I'm doubting, am I good enough? Should I really get a 9-to-5? Because even if you're super successful, there's always the imposter syndrome. I haven't heard anybody yet that doesn't have the imposter syndrome at some point, right? So start to consider like, maybe I should get a 9-to-5. Maybe I should live in the countryside. And then thank God you come out of this kind of days. You're like, what am I talking about? I don't like living in the countryside, and I definitely don't like leaving my clients because I got amazing clients. So why should I? And for what? Right? But so the second cycle of abuse starts, and it starts to tell you things that will undermine your image that you have of yourself. And because they are incredible at picking up your weak points, but they put it to you in a way that sounds almost like a kind of, I'll just throw it there, but it doesn't mean anything. And if you confront them, they go, oh, but I was just joking, come on. You cannot be taking it seriously.
That's
right?
why you need, if you're leaving them, the right lawyers, the right team, and the right strategy. You can't do it without strategy.
No.
So I'm lastly going to ask you, and
Yes.
we're going to have to be fairly brief because, it's been a really good chat, but quite a long one. So you mentioned earlier about the level of male suicide rate.
Oh, my God. Yes.
That's just a massive issue, isn't it?
And 73% of suicides in the UK are male.
Yeah.
That means out of 16 people that every single day take their life, 12 are men. It's huge. We need to take it from the bottom, from when they're children. When we start with the men don't cry, be tough, all that kind of things.
Yeah.
But then once they grow up, we expect them to be fully emotionally trained and, don't shut me down, don't do this, don't do that. And we expect them to be soft and hard at the same time, to be the provider, protector, and all this. But then you really need to understand my emotions. And who is understanding them?
Yeah, it's such a complex world for men. And, I suppose a lot of that is going to be them maybe feeling they've failed at relationships and not understanding why. Do you think that's an issue?
That's definitely an issue. And also they tend to say for every relationship that ends, you lose friends, you lose family that you created with this person. There's a big loss.
And you might not see your children.
You might not see your children.
Yeah.
You might be asked to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
That means nothing that's familiar is there for you. Chances are even your favorite chair is still at the family house.
Yeah.
And you're told just get on with it. If a woman had gone through that, that would have been merry hell. Everybody would have been around her, gathering resources and things and support. But also, men generally don't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
So when you say, how are you? I'm fine. Then they go to the pub with their other friends. They talk about football or whatever else, but they will not touch the topic unless, certain men can do emotional side of things. Certain men find it more difficult to talk about it because they've not been trained in that.
Yeah.
Just as much as girls are told to be nice. Accept things that are unacceptable is what you're telling me. but you're telling me be nice. So if the girl in the marriage has been nice all the time, and then now she started to stand up for herself, this man is completely puzzled. And generally, the good thing about coming to a female coach, I say to them, let me interpret for you what has just happened.
Because knowledge is power. Knowledge gives us self-awareness, and then we're then going back to where we began. Having self-awareness then allows you to make some changes. So Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we'll get you maybe on a webinar or other resources that we can give to people. So if people want to contact you, how do they find you?
Just go to annaflorio.com.
Perfect.
And you'll find all the information and everything.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you so much.